Committee, we'll start in one moment. I'm going to wait for a few more. We have 19 members and 11 are here. We do have a quorum, but I'm going to wait just another minute for everybody to show up, make sure. Yeah, maybe the confusion. It said originally 2:30. Yeah, that may be an issue. And we'll start in one moment. Payment is putting name tags out, but we don't have name tags back from everybody yet. So if you miss a name tag, we'll have it by the next meeting. Okay, welcome, committee. Let's go ahead and get started. I think to my count, there's 19 members. Representative Kirk Haston has asked for excused absence. He a little difficult to get it in from his community today. And I think also here, but maybe one, so we can go ahead and get started. But before we do, I always like, if those of you in the committee last year, since we are the education committee working on issues to protect our children, I always like to start the committee out with a prayer and ask for divine help. Representative Love, will you mind lead us in that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Uh, God, we thank you, first of all, for this day's rising up and going out. We thank you, Lord, for the chance to gather in this committee as we discuss issues that will face so many people in our state. Bless us, God, with wisdom, and bless us, God, with open minds. Is our prayer in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Representative Love. Appreciate you. Let's start out now first by having the clerks call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Bulso,
Here.
Butler, Fritz, Gant,
Here.
Gillespie, Haston, Hurt, Jones,
Present.
Lafferty, Love, McKenzie, Parkinson, Reagan, Ritchie,
Here.
Stevens, Warner, Vice Chairman Slater, Chairman White.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Members, thank you. Welcome on the first day of our Education Administration full committee. Look forward to serving with everyone. We do have 9 new members who were not on the committee last session, so we will spend time and answer questions that are needed to be answered. We also have one presentation today, but before we get to that, Chancellor Tidings, if you would let us do a little bit of housekeeping as we get started, Ms. McCormick. Appreciate y'all being there. And here we have Ms. Representative Parkinson, one of Memphis's finest, right? Second finest, okay. All right. All right. Good. I think we have everyone here except for the one that asked for excused absence. What I would like to do to begin with, we do in the other committees, since we do have 9 new members, let's take maybe no more than a minute each and just introduce yourself, your district, who you are, where you're from, and maybe one thing, a personal issue that you want to share about yourself. And we're going to start down with Memphis' second finest, Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought you'd never ask. I'm Representative Antonio Parkinson. I represent District 98, and I've actually picked up about 50% new district going into the Cordova area this year. So I'm excited about that. And, I don't know, I said this before a couple of years ago, I don't know whose idea it was to put me on the education committee. Because for a long time, I was the big bad wolf of education. I guess they started liking me. I guess the chairman started liking me a little bit anyway. But I'm honored to be here. I love being on this education committee. It's a great committee to be on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Sam McKenzie, represent the 15th District, which is part of Knox County, East Knoxville, downtown. I have 2 universities, college universities in my district, Knoxville College and the University of Tennessee. I also represent the city part of South Knoxville. I guess, from an educational standpoint, I'm a stalwart proponent of quality public education, a product of those schools. And also, I guess something that's interesting, from Knoxville, went to undergraduate at Nashville, Fisk University, and then kept moving west. Got my graduate degree from Memphis State at the time, University of Memphis. So I'm well-versed in each of those grand divisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Harold Love Jr., House District 58, and starting year 11 on Education Committee. I think we started out together, Mr. Chairman, some years back on Education Committee. I have 5 colleges in my district: Tennessee State University, Fisk University, American Baptist College, Meharry Medical College, and Trevecca Nazarene College, and certainly look forward to more discussions around education and how we can advance that for all Tennesseans. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I represent District 52, which runs from East Nashville to Antioch. Really grateful to be a part of this committee. And I just wanted to say a special thanks to my 9th grade English teacher, Ms. Janet Headington, who is a large reason why I'm here where I am. Education is really important. I work at Fisk University with the John Lewis Center for Social Justice. I'm also a graduate of Fisk University, and really looking forward to learning on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Warner.
Thank you, Chairman. Todd Warner from the 92nd District. I represent all of Marshall County and the southern part of Williamson County. I am lucky enough this time to be on 4 education committees, so I look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Representative Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gino Bolso, District 61, which is most of Brentwood, Tennessee, and a good chunk of Franklin, Tennessee. I have been a trial lawyer my entire career here in Nashville for 36 years, but actually in high school went to vocational high school in Tampa, Florida, where I was born and raised, and studied sheet metal. So I'm a big fan of the governor's emphasis on technical education in secondary schools and know how valuable that can be. Ultimately, Mr. Chairman, I didn't pursue sheet metal. I went to law school. I first got my undergraduate degree at Cornell College and my law degree in 1986 at Emory University. So if you ever have any difficulty with your HVAC contractors, Mr. Chairman, I can bring the case on your behalf against them and actually fix the ductwork that might have caused a problem in the first place.
We certainly remember that. Thank you very, very much. Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Robert Stevens. I represent District 13, which is the western fifth of Rutherford County. That's parts of Laverne, Smyrna, Murfreesboro, Rockville, and Eagleville. And this is my first year in the General Assembly. I'm very excited to be here and to learn and be a part of this committee. I served for 12 years on the Rutherford County Commission and 8 years on the Motlow College Foundation Board of Trustees. So I'm very excited to be here and look forward to working with everybody.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Representative Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Gillespie. I serve 97th District, which is mostly East Memphis, inside the Loop. And this is my second term and second time on this committee. We've got a lot of problems across the state and Memphis involving crime and whatnot, and education is definitely the solution to it, at least on the front end. So I just look forward to working with everyone again and helping everyone in the state succeed.
Thank you. Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Reagan. I represent District 33, which is most of Anderson County, including Oak Ridge and the county seat of Clinton. I have 3 school districts, public school districts in my legislative district and 1 private Catholic school. Additionally, there are 4 satellite University of Tennessee campuses in my district. So I have a long-standing interest in education from every aspect. And before I screw up, I've been married 52 years to a lovely woman, and we have 1 daughter and 3 grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Monty Fritz. I represent District 32, which is most of Roane County and a good portion of Loudoun County. I will follow Representative Reagan and say I've been married for 39 years to Denise and have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Education is important to all of us. I'm proud to get to represent schools in Midway, Kingston, Rockwood, Harriman, Lenore City, Loudoun, some of those in Oak Ridge, and Harriman and several private schools. We're the home to Roane State Community College and a great TCAT program there in Harriman. And I'm so thankful to get to be on this committee. I look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you so much. Proud to have you. Let's jump back over to West Tennessee. Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Hurt. I represent the 82nd District, which is all of Lauderdale, all of Crockett, part of Gibson, and part of Obion counties. Along with a background in agriculture, I spent 14 years as the high school teacher and a football coach. So public education is extremely important to me, and I've served on this committee since I was elected in 2018, and look forward to continuing to serve on this committee with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Baum.
Thank you, Chairman White. I'm Charlie Baum. I represent about 1/5 of Rutherford County, and I teach economics at MTSU. So you would think I would be excited to be on this committee. I've been on this committee before, and I know it's a lot of work, but a blessing to work to improve education. Thank you.
Okay, Representative Gant, and we are so proud to have Representative Gant back with us, walking around. Went through a terrible accident was it this fall?
Yeah.
And anyways, just look. Blessed to have you back. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ron Gant. I represent District 94, which is Fayette, Hardeman, and McNairy County. And I'm in the insurance business and look forward to serving on education and with each of you, and should be a very productive year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Ritchie, District 20, which is part of Blount County, Maryville, Louisville, Friendsville, Greenback, and town. Well, yeah, that's where it's at. I've got multiple school districts there: Maryville School District, Alcoa, Blount County. We've got Pellissippi State, Maryville College. A lot of folks down there. I feel blessed to be on this particular committee because if there's one thing that we can do productively up here at this Capitol is take care of the next generation, because without them, everything else is for nothing to begin with. So I'm excited to get to work.
Thank you very much. In a beautiful area there. My wife grew up in Alcoa, so very familiar with that area. It's a beautiful area. Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ed Butler. I represent District 41, which is Overton, Morgan, half of Fentress, a portion of Anderson County, and a portion of Roane County. So I have 5 school districts, a tremendous number of small communities, and I have 8 children, 3 of which are still in school, 2 in high school and 1 in middle school. And Uh, One of the things that's pretty important to me in higher education is the TCATs, as two of my children have taken advantage of the dual enrollment. So I know that's going to be expanded, and I'm looking forward to that. I actually told my 17-year-old daughter that's dual enrollment now in cosmetology that she was going to be mad when she could have started as a freshman and graduated with her certificate in cosmetology. So I'm glad to see some of these programs are improving, and we're doing more to equip our students to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Williams Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I represent District 35, which is part of Sumner County. Great to see Sumner County in here, Anthony Holt, and then all of Trousdale County. I come from a family of 11. I have 5 brothers and sisters older than me and 5 brothers and sisters younger than me.
Wow.
I'm the poster child for middle child syndrome. But of those 11, 7 of us either are or have been in education. And that has been my entire career, over 30 years in K-12 education. And then currently in my 6th year as a dean at Welch College. And so in the Slater family at reunions, if somebody gets cut, we bleed education. And so glad to be on the education committee. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful. I'd like to hear more about that story. 11 brothers and sisters going. Wow. Are you spoiled?
No.
You're not? Middle child. Well, there's only 3 in my family. I was a middle child, so I a little bit know what you're talking about. Let's go back to our chairman of our higher ed committee, Representative Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Justin Lafferty, represent the 89th District. It makes up the northwest corner of Knox County. There's 7 representatives out of there, and obviously I got the prettiest part of the county. So glad to be back here on education and looking forward to a good year. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And I believe that covered everyone. I'm Mark White. I represent District 83, which is West Tennessee. It's Shelby County. It's Memphis and the community of Germantown. And I was talking to Representative Jones a while ago. I believe this is my 14th year. I believe 4 years or 6 years as chairman. I cannot remember exactly. Ever since Representative Harry Brooks left, who did such a great job on this committee. So I've really enjoyed that. So I think we've got a great committee of 19, and we'll get into some real issues. Let me just mention this so the committee will know. In January 2021, when we had the schools had been closed the previous year, we came back in a special session, and we had a special session on just education, on how we can catch children back up due to the pandemic. Well, one of the things we did at the time, we had heard so many along in this committee that so many children aren't reading proficiently by end of 3rd grade. So we just passed a law that says, well, we're just going to hold them back if they're not reading proficiently. And so I know y'all get it from back home. So on February 22nd, we're going to have a hearing on early childhood literacy, K1 and 2, why, and K1, 2, and 3, and why, what are we doing? What are we not doing that we're hitting 3rd grade and we still have an issue? So we're going to have a big hearing on that. Not only to bring our new members up to date, but also to refresh our memory and really understand moving forward. Early childhood reading is that important, and we've got to get it right. So we're going to have a hearing on that on February the 22nd and invite experts and teachers and superintendents from all fields, and we're going to talk about that. So put that on your calendar. That is moving forward. Members, does anybody have anybody in the audience you wanted to recognize or any special announcement before we get started? Don't hear anyone. Let me also recognize we have our committee attorney, Katie Robinson, with us again this year. So proud to have her. Also, our research analyst, Colleen Ellis, on my left. Our clerks this year are Ava Woodward and Jackson Stubblefield. Is that correct? Are y'all that be the permanent clerks in here? Well, good. Thank you very much. Our Sergeant at Arms, Johnny McDonald. Where's Johnny? There he is, standing right there. Will you be here every week? All right, assigned to us. And also Payman, my assistant in my office, Payman, raise your hand. Payman runs the office. She's the organizing person. So if you have any questions, just go to her and she'll put you on my schedule or anyway, she's the one that runs the office. Y'all know how that works. And also, she's not here today. Our intern is Aviana Parker, and due to the ice in a little bit north of Nashville, she wasn't able to get in. So Aviana Parker is our intern. You leave anybody out? Okay. Okay, with no further ado, if I haven't left anything out, let's go ahead and we're ready to go to the presentation. We have a presentation. I asked the TBR, Tennessee Board of Regents, that is over our community colleges and our trade schools, which the number one issue in the news now is our trades, our dual enrollments, getting people to the trades. And we have Chancellor Tidings. I'll let you kick it off, and then we'll go from there. You're
All right, well,
recognized.
thank you very much, Chairman White, and welcome and thank you for having us here today to speak to you. We are so glad to have this great of a committee to work with on education because, as many of you said, education is probably one of the most important things we do as a state. And I believe that as Tennesseans, we do it extremely well. I have with me today Dr. Russ Deaton, who is going to help with the presentation. And really what we hope to accomplish today is to give you a little bit more information about what we are doing at TBR and some of the new initiatives we have that we're pretty excited about. There are quite a number of new committee members today, so there may be some things that we talk to you about that you're not familiar with and that will be new information for you. The slide that you see here up at the top corner, you see a QR code, and if you click on that, it will take you directly to our new strategic plan that we've been working on over the last several years. The three pillars of that strategic plan are open access, completion, and our community and workforce development.
And
Our
everyone
mission-
has a pass handout also in front of you.
Yes, sir. And our mission statement is very simple. It is that of student success and workforce development. Everything we do is to be focused on success of our students. TBR community colleges are open access, and I was speaking with someone earlier about the fact that many of our students come to us with a great deal of need. Being an open access institution means we take everyone that comes to the door. And so with that, you'll see that half of our first-time full-time students are low-income students. 60% of our first-time students are academically underprepared, and 30% of our students are adults age 23 and over. So we have challenges the minute that they walk in the door, and we were working every day to try and help them overcome some of those obstacles. Some of the key challenges are the economic trends that have sharpened the imperative. As you all know, the economy is different today than it was 3 years ago, and looking at the credentials that students need to hold in order to be a viable part of what's happening within the economy. Many of the in-demand occupations require very high quality, strong skills training, and we're looking at what those need to be for our students. While success rates have risen at our colleges, and we have doubled over the past decade our graduation rates, they're still not good. We still have a lot of work to do, and we admit that every day, but we're working on that every single day to try and make our students be as successful as possible. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Deaton to talk to you for a little bit about some of the very new processes that we're putting in place, calling the Reimagined Community College, and some of the things that we think will happen in order to help students be very successful from the minute they walk in the door.
Oh, that one there. Thank you, tech support. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Russ Deaton on the TBR staff, and I want to segue from what the Chancellor was talking about and kind of talk about an idea that is going out in the field this fall to address some of those challenges that she mentioned. She mentioned the success rates we have and being open access, and to put a number on that, we have a 26% graduation rate, and as she said, we work every day to get that number higher. It has doubled over the past 5 years. We're proud of that. A lot of work left to do. So last year, we began to develop an idea that, and you'll hear us use this term a lot, to reimagine the experience that a student receives at a community college. And this fall, we're going to launch 4 colleges who will try out something new. And it's not enough to say this is a pilot or an incremental change. This is sort of a fundamental and a foundational change in how our colleges think about the way they engage students, the way we think about the alignment challenge between workforce and education. So this fall, you will see schools begin to implement and aggressively stand up some new features of what they do. And some of these things schools already do. Our colleges already think heavily about career exploration for our students as they are high school seniors and juniors moving into post-secondary. There is a lot of college engagement in the career exploration space, but not enough. We just don't have the person power to do that. So part of this initiative will be to have these 4 colleges aggressively and comprehensively talk to students about their career opportunities and where their skills, interests, and abilities match up with where the workforce needs are today. Secondly, and this is the essence of the idea, they will begin to encounter the college in a bit of a different way. Currently, roughly 80% of our students will go into a transfer pathway. They have an ambition to get a bachelor's degree, and that's appropriate for a high number of our students. But for many of them, it is a pathway that too often leads in failure right now. And so instead, the idea would be to put in front of every student's pathway a workforce ready certificate in that first semester of their engagement with the college. So rather than the typical array of general education courses, which sets you on a journey towards the associate's and bachelor's degrees, this would instead put into that student's first semester a workforce ready certificate that importantly does 2 things. One is it could hopefully stand alone if the student were to then find a job opportunity or due to life circumstances or income levels not be able to be retained, but also it can be used in a stackable way, as we would say, towards any credential they would eventually pursue in college. But it would give them a foundation, something to at least fall back on, if nothing else, to use in the workforce, hopefully with a career that works for their family. So to kind of put this in perspective, on the left you see sort of the current experience. And on the right-hand side, you'll see what this new experience would be. So again, before college, you'll have colleges using different tools to try to assess a student's skills and interests and their abilities. That's then used by advisors and counselors to talk to that student in a very sincere and earnest way about what programs and careers might fit their ambitions. Secondly, you have that workforce ready certificate in that first semester, which is aligned hopefully to local and regional workforce needs, where students are pursuing those credentials, hopefully on a way to an associate's and a bachelor's degree. That first year of college also affords them chances to take that first semester credential and stack it on to subsequent credentials, hopefully again preparing them for the workforce. And then finally, throughout their term, continuing to get advising from the colleges, continuing to think about how the programs are aligned with workforce in ways that we do now, but hopefully are dramatically ramped up to better fit our students and what they are pursuing when they pursue those credentials. On the timeline, again, these are pilots, but they are, I think it's fair to say, very large-scale pilots involving basically the entire freshman class at 4 of our colleges, who this fall will put these ideas into the field. They've been working with TBR and staff for the past few months to get those plans finalized. In this fall, you will see the following schools pilot this at scale: Southwest, Jackson, Pellissippi, and Walters. Again, those 4 schools have fundamentally redesigned how every entering freshman approaches their freshman year, their college experience, in a way that we hope has dramatic impacts on both student success and the alignment between education and workforce needs.
And Representative Balso, this is kind of the model that you used when you went to school. You started off with a career degree and then it led you to where you wanted to go in your career path. That's what we're hoping to be able to help students do. That if they stop out in that very first year, they've got a credential in their hand that could be a stepping stone to a job for them if they never return to us, because that's what we're seeing so often happen. So it is a flipping the model somewhat of the way traditional colleges have operated, but we hope to have great success with this and help our students, again, be more productive. We also have several proposed strategic initiatives that we are putting forward. We've asked for funding for these initiatives. It is the Student Support Network, an integrated network of mental health counselors and social service counselors throughout the state, throughout our colleges. We are seeing a greater need for this every year. COVID exacerbated the mental health issues for a lot of students, but we serve a large portion or population of the military as well. So we know that we need to help direct them to some of the services that we have. So we want to ramp up and increase what we are doing there. We are looking at a $3 million ask for modernizing the learning experience. This is a new center of innovation for teaching and learning and new to student success technologies that we're continuing to ramp up at the system office to help all of the colleges be the very best that they can possibly be. I think last year I shared with this group before that we took 2 weeks when COVID hit for all of our programs to go and be online. They all learned how to do that. We did it. We put all of our classes in an online format. We have a lot of teachers now that are using hybrid formats because it is a more convenient way for students to learn. But we did it with the bare bones. So while they all went and did it, it might not be very pretty and it might not be the best of the best. And what we want to do with this new center is help all of our professors put their programs into the very best format that they possibly can be. So it is a way to continue to help instructors to upgrade and to upskill their teaching techniques. Also, our campus safety and security. For those of you that have been here with us for a long time, you know that back in 2015, we had a safety, campus, and security study that was conducted across the state. We are still implementing all of those upgrades. The majority of them have been put in place. The money that was allocated during that time included all of the universities. That was pre-Focus Act. So we still have some doors, locks, things that need to be done, and we estimate we're still about $4 million off on finishing that. And then dual enrollment expansion, we have an ask out for $3.2 million, and I heard several of you mention dual enrollment and how important that was in your community, and we are continuing to do more. I will share with you that our dual enrollment numbers for this year, we are 34% increase in our dual enrollment numbers, so very pleased with where we've been able to go at this point. Also, short-term financial aid for workforce training. This will be targeting financial aid for students that are in short-term training certificates that at this point in time, Pell does not cover. But there are a lot of students that need to just get an industry certification to be able to go to work. So we are looking at ways to help finance that for them. There are federal discussions on changing that at the Pell level. I'm very hopeful that some of the legislation that will result at the federal level may help with this as well. And then financial aid effectiveness. We are always trying to make sure that we have ways to help students cover some of the extraneous cost of going to college besides tuition. The majority of our students find ways to get tuition covered, but it is the cost of textbooks or tools or the other things that go into being a student in a class that can quite often keep a student out. So we are looking at ways to be more effective in helping them. We also have a current ask of $9.9 million for modernizing the nursing workforce. As you can imagine, that has been an area where we are seeing a great deal of change in the work population. There are a lot of people that left the nursing profession during the past several years. We are not getting as many students into the courses in the nursing profession. So we are looking at ways to expand what we are doing and actually put in some more efficient ways to do some training and trying to partner with more of our healthcare providers across the state of Tennessee. And then finally, for our initiatives, we're telling the Tennessee higher education story. We want to do a better job of getting the story out to individuals and the population of Tennessee. We want everyone to know the opportunities that they have of dual enrollment, of TCATs, of community colleges, and how those courses translate to our universities and how they can be successful doing so. And I don't know if any of you have seen our ads that have been running over the last several weeks, but we've had great response from those that primarily they're focused on the workforce, on putting people to work when they come to us for training. In our workforce education alignment, again, those of you that have been on the committee for a while, you've heard me talk about our warranty. And 4 years ago, we implemented a warranty for all of our technical college graduates. And if you'll recall, for any student that is in a technical program of study, upon graduation, If an employer says within that first year of employment, this student does not have the skills for which you say you trained them, we will take them back and retrain them for free. To date, we have trained 46,209 individuals that have received the warranty, and we've had 0 claims, a fact that I'm extremely proud of. And then I will tell you quickly, people say, well, what are you going to do when you get the first one? I look at it as a positive indicator, information that I need to know. If I get a warranty claim, that means that we probably need to go back and look at the curriculum because something must have changed in that workplace, and we may not be teaching that skill set to the level that we should be. So I will use it as a way to grow, but I still would rather have 0. Today, in expanding our TCAT capacity, thanks to all of you that voted last year for the dollars that came to us from the governor's budget and that you approved for us to whittle down the wait list that we have for all of our technical colleges. This year alone, we were able to add 2,124 new students off of that wait list. We opened or added 70 new TCAT faculty across the state of Tennessee, and we renovated or expanded 61 of our facilities with the dollars that you appropriated for us last year. So thank you so much for that, because it has made a true difference in the numbers that we're able to serve across the state of Tennessee. Workforce activity partnerships. I wanted to just highlight a few of these for you so that you know some of the other groups across the state that we are working with. Currently, the money that was allocated to us, there was $10 million in the budget last year for us to expand our commercial truck driving. As you all know, I tell people I find it hard to believe that there's a shortage of truck drivers when I drive down 24. There is. There is a high demand for truck drivers, and we need more of them. This past year, we went from being able to train 355 truck drivers a year to 803 students that we were able to train this past year. We also expanded our capacity at 8 TCATs that now offer the CDL training. 3 new TCATs for a total of 11 are teaching the CDL across the state. We also were able to enter into an agreement with the Tennessee Department of Safety for the testing of the individuals once they have graduated from the CDL program. There was a backlog and a wait time for those people that had earned their degree to actually go and get the certification to be allowed to drive the truck because the Department of Safety didn't have enough people to do this, nor enough trucks. So through our partnership, we are now providing trucks to them to help with the testing, and we're also providing some staff that are able to be used so that we can get people through that process in a much more expeditious manner. We have also partnered with TDOT on training their employees. We've had customized workforce training for them, and we have begun that this past year. And so far, we've had 5 classes that have gone through this training that we're doing for TDOT. The correctional officers training, this was a $5 million initiative that you granted to us last year. We are providing that training at 18 TCATs and 5 community colleges. This is for the individuals that work in the correctional facilities. And there again was a real deficit in ability to hire people because they didn't have enough trained people in the state of Tennessee to go to work. So we've made significant improvement in what we've been able to do there. Again, our QR code, if you want to go to our strategic plan, and I know that you don't have enough to read at night and you want to stay up and read that all night long, it's there for you, and we'll be happy to answer any questions about that or anything else that you'd like to talk about this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Members, we are opening up for questions. Chancellor, thank you very much, Mr. Deaton. I also want to recognize Patrick Boggs over here, who was our research analyst last year, and you did take him from us, but we understand that. We have Colleen with us now, John Williams, and also Kim McCormick. Anytime I call any of those 3 up, they're right, Johnny, on the spot, and I really appreciate their support and very much. Let me start out. Let me ask the first question or 2. Thank you for putting the workforce ready certificates on the front end. That way, we know we have a retention rate many times, but if we can get us a certificate where they can get right in the job, earning whatever that pay scale is, they have an earned living going on, and they can finish their education. So that's a brilliant move, and we really needed it. And the stackable credits and credentials is so important moving forward. I know we've talked about this for years, and thank you all for moving forward on that. On your second slide, my last question for the moment, then I turn it over to the committee. On slide 2, you said who we serve, and you put 60% of first-time students are academically unprepared. Give us a little bit more on that. What is going on there? So those people are coming out of K-12.
Yes, sir. Those are students that are going to need some form of remediation in either reading, math, or English. And you know that we have the SAILS program and that we do conduct that with our high schools so that we have lowered that number, not from 60, but it was higher than 60. With the SAILS program, we've been able to get it to 60. Many of the individuals that come to us, one of the reasons that they may be underprepared, they're not directly coming to us from the K-12 system. They've been out for a while. It is usually more now that 60% is made up more of the older student that's been out for a while. And it's not that they can't do it, it's just they haven't done it in a long time. And so they need some shoring up. They need some refresher work on their math skills before they actually dig in to some of the higher level math that we're working with. So a lot of our colleges now are, you don't go into developmental, like most of you probably remember back when we were in college, and if you didn't score high enough on the test, you had to start with developmental classes. That is not the way we do that. The way that we help them is that we embed these into the regular classroom for the most of it, so that the students are taking their classes, but they're getting extra support, extra help in order to be successful, because without it, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to fall out.
Thank you very much. The reason I point that out, members, keep this in the back of your mind. Does 60% ring a bell?
Third grade.
Third grade reading literacy. Not, we're not maybe talking about apples and oranges, apples and apples completely, but third grade reading literacy is important all the way through your life. So, 60% of first-time students are academically unprepared to go on to trade school or community college. So just want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we go forward. Anyone have a question? Oh, Representative McKenzie, I saw his hand first. Then we go to Representative Hurt and then Gillespie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that's a great analogy. But I was going to ask a question in a different line, and you may not know that, but I do think it's valid as well. And that is, do you know what the percentage of our four-year state institutions, what percentage of their students are academically underprepared?
No, sir, I don't, but we can get that information
All right,
for
yeah,
you if you'd like.
I would like that. I'm sure that's significant as well. So it's from what I've found that our schools haven't been, across the board wholesale preparing our college eligible, our college driven kids to be preparing. They're having to take a lot of those remedial classes. But thank you for that. So you didn't talk about, but in some of my tours of our correctional facilities, you all also have classes in those facilities, which I found to be just outstanding. From, y'all have welding classes, HVAC classes, masonry. Could you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe talk about some of the expansion opportunities? Because I know at Morgan County, at least, a lot of those classes had a wait list because of, just classes are filling up. I think they have the facilities, but just not enough instructors. So could you speak to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that question. We do have 11 of our colleges now that are working with correctional institutions that are actually teaching the courses in the correctional institution. This is part of the governor's initiative that we started 4 years ago now, and we have had 115 graduates to date. We currently have, I think it is 438 students enrolled as of this moment, and we are looking to expand that every opportunity that we're able to. So it has been a tremendous successful program. And for those of you that are not familiar, these are individuals that are incarcerated that are within a certain number of months being released. And so they start the program so that when they are released from prison, they have a skill set. They have graduated from one of our programs and are able to get a job and go to work. So it has been an extremely successful program.
Yes, sir, you may follow up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if we've gotten those numbers, but the numbers for recidivism are also off the scale compared to what the general population that's released. And my last question is on this having these stackable credentials put in front of it. What's your expansion plan? Because I know you want to probably measure for a while. I think you're going to find out that this is going to be helpful to our students. But what's your expansion kind of vision for that?
We really hope that within the next 2 years, this is the model that all of our colleges will be following. Each one of the 4 are doing something just a little bit different in the delivery mechanism of this. And so what we're using them as our petri dish, so to speak, because we want to see what is absolutely the best model, what is working the best and has the best results. That's the one that we will want to implement across the state once we see some of the results. One of the things Dr. Deaton, he didn't go into a lot of detail about, is also the time frame of that delivery. We have 2 colleges right now that are doing 7 + 7 weeks within that semester time frame, which we are also being very successful. People can do something for 7 weeks, whereas if you say to them it's 15 weeks, they just kind of go, I can't do 15, but I can get. And so we are seeing that be a good factor finishing and getting through a program of study. So we're pretty excited. Format change as well.
Thank you. Let's go to Chairman Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate y'all's presentation today, and thank you for being here. My line of question kind of goes back to where Chairman White was with the 60% not ready as you all get them. And another statement you made, and I know I appreciate the initiative to improve it, was the 26% graduation rate. Was that right?
Yes, sir. But I do want to clarify that graduation rate. When he said it, I wanted to jump right in. That graduation rate is IPED's graduation rate. That means first-time, full-time student. That's all that measures. If you look at our graduation rate overall, we're at 48% when you look at everybody that enters our college. So we're a little bit better than that. But when everybody talks about graduation rates, usually they're talking about that first-time, full-time student. Okay. That's what they compare us to across the country, is that first-time, full-time student.
You follow up?
Okay, thank you for that clarification too. So it's not as concerned, but of course, as to everybody, that's still concerning, because I know if they're a degree or certificate seeking student, to a community college, there's access to a lot of lottery money and all that students use. So when we talk about being efficient with our funds and we making good use of our funds, that's kind of where my mind goes, because that tells me that 50% of that money we're sending out there, we're not really sure we're getting anything for it. So I appreciate the initiative to address that. But in the reimagined experience, a couple slides past the one that Chairman White brought out, I kind of have a question on the spot there where it said first year of college, the traditional experience. Most students take general education and remedial courses. So that's obviously the remedial courses, I would think, are a pretty good obstacle to keeping students on path and completing. But then in the reimagined experience, under the same line of the first year of college, it says students earned workforce ready credentials in their first semester, but there's no mention of remedial courses.
It's embedded in those courses.
So that would, even in the reimagined experience, the unpreparedness and the need for remedial courses will be continue to be an obstacle. And I didn't know if maybe the reimagined experience and going this way may get them out of some of the remedial courses, or if y'all thought that could still be an obstacle to them completing their degrees with the community colleges.
As we embed that work within the courses, we're hoping it is not an obstacle, but it has been in the history of that. When people had to sign up for remedial courses, that was a barrier, because nobody goes to college to take developmental English and math. Mm-hmm. They want to take the courses that they're there to take. And so that's why we have changed that paradigm, so that now these are embedded in the courses that they're taking. But we are still there to help them because the issue still persists.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Mm-hmm.
Very good question. Thank you. Representative Gillespie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chancellor, thanks so much for being here. You may have already said this, and I completely missed it, so I apologize. But what percent of, I guess, students in the community colleges that are starting as a freshman, starting out, what's the completion rate right now?
First time, full time's 26%. That's the group that we're talking about is the 26%. When
Okay.
they're right out of high school, starting with us, we have a graduation rate of 26%. But I am going to put an asterisk beside that too as well, because Dr. Deaton mentioned the fact that a lot of students start with us because their intent is to go to UT, go to middle. They may come to us because of Tennessee Promise, which is a great thing. They may come to us and take 5, 6 classes and then decide, I'm ready to go now. So they leave us with no credential, but they have transferred on to another college. And so they are counted as a non-completer for us, but they've gotten what they intended to when they came to us. So we have a percentage that's what happens. But then we have a very large percentage that start with us and never finish. They never go anywhere. And that's the group we are trying to reimagine this experience for.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so I guess, is there any way that y'all could maybe get us a more accurate, and I understand that's a pretty big caveat there, or asterisk, or whatever you want to call it. I would love to get, if y'all do any follow-up with students once they go on to other, is there any type of data that you'll have that can maybe give us a little bit better understanding of that completion rate?
You want to talk about that a little bit? I mean, we know where they are. We do know where they go. We follow everybody.
We do, yeah. We can
Mr.
track.
Deaton, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can track them into the universities, Representative Gillespie, and look at those eventual completion rates even at the universities. In fact, we will take those grad rates even beyond the standard windows just to get a holistic sense of when and how students complete. So we have all of that comprehensively that we can provide you, yes.
Thank you. Chairman Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great timing, too. I want to jump off of what Representative Gillespie was talking about a little bit. And forgive me, I've had a lot of conversations in a short period of time, and I can't remember who I've talked to about what some days. I have been told by someone at one of the TBR universities that it is possible that students that go through their 2-year program that transfer on intending to get a 4-year degree often do so, and then some of them will drop out and they don't have a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. I have been told that it can be a simple administrative fix. Not to put you on the spot, but
No.
what are we doing here?
No, you're absolutely right. And we do work to do that. We can do, if they leave us and they take enough courses at the 4-year degree, we can do a reverse transfer to give them a 2-year degree. We work to do that whenever we are aware of it. We will do that, but it does have to be up to the student. We can't just go in and say, oh, we see that you've gotten enough courses for us to send it to you. The student has to request that we do that, but we can. We absolutely, and we do.
So when the,
Almost 1,000 a year.
okay, so what if when the student did decide to leave one of your institutions, they were given something, you know, prominently displayed that said, hey, this is, I know you don't want to discourage them completing a 4-year degree, but something that says, hey, we can do this for you should things not work out, or so. I don't know the wording. I don't know the way to go about it, but it seems to me like
But no, I think that's a great idea.
we're
And
missing some folks.
I don't think we've done as great a job probably because sometimes they leave and we don't necessarily know it immediately. We have to go into the system and figure out where they've gone. But I do think that's information that students should have in their hands.
And maybe we need to talk to the 4-year institutions about them having it for students that come in through a transfer program.
And they do work really well with us. Our universities work really well to help us do
Okay.
that.
Wonderful. And keep going.
Follow up.
Thank you. I'm going to change pages a little bit. The Center for Innovation and Teaching, where will that be? Is that a renovation or is that a new center?
No, it's at the system office. It's really more of using personnel to be able to train faculty and staff. We go out to the colleges, or there are times where we have seminars where we bring faculty and staff into the system office.
Okay.
So we're calling it a center, but it's at the system office.
And that is where, I'm sorry.
On the corner of Briley Parkway and Lebanon Pike.
Okay.
We're
thank
in
you.
the first Bridgestone building, the pink one.
So middle of the state.
Mhm.
Good call. My last question, I think, the talking about targeted financial aid earlier and where that $4.5 million would come from. I have talked to business owners that have taken to hiring kids that if they can, I think one of them literally said, if he can push a broom, I'll give him $15 an hour. And if he'll show up 6 months in a row, we'll start training him on stuff. So what kind of relations have you got with in-demand businesses that are looking for these people? And I don't know how the math works out from their side. $15 an hour over 6 months equates to something. If they can put that in your hands and you can get a kid trained up and they come right in ready to go work on whatever it is that they really need done, maybe everybody benefits.
We do have a lot of partnerships throughout the state where we're working with companies, business, and industry to do training for them specifically for certain skill sets. But we've also had a huge growth in apprenticeship training programs. We are well over 2,000 students in apprenticeship programs this year that we have in business and industry where they're paying them. The company's paying them to do the work and they're getting the curriculum training from us. So we've got some good partnerships throughout the state. We want to increase that and are working with the Department of Labor to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you for the time today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chancellor, thank you for your presentation, what you're doing. Under the financial aid effectiveness to help low-income students, what's the process for students to apply for that financial aid?
They have to fill the FAFSA out. That's the first step. And then from there, we know how much Pell or whatever grants there are available to them. And then how much, if they're a Tennessee Promise student, what's available to them. And our financial aid department works with the individuals in order to help them figure out what that is. A lot of this you'll see, and I was speaking earlier about the fact that we have students with a lot of just basic needs. We discovered not only during the pandemic, but over the last several years, there are a lot of people that come to our campuses that are homeless. And we work very diligently to try to make sure that they have food, that they have a safe place to go and sleep at night. So some of this is to help direct that to the appropriate parties. We know we can't provide all of those needs, nor, it's just not possible, but there are a lot of agencies in the state of Tennessee that do provide that. And we need to tie directly into them so that we can always get the students in the best place for that student to be.
Okay, thank you. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, one more.
Yes, sir.
And try to refresh my memory. Mr. Chairman, you may be able to refresh my memory on this. Did we pass legislation last year that provided for money, for a small amount of money for paying off of balances, or if students had an extra expense, a small amount? I'm trying to think of if it was.
Life gets in the way. Is that the part you're talking about?
I'm trying to think what it was. It was almost like these extra expenses, and it wasn't but maybe $200 or $300. What was that?
Yeah, Chairman Reagan, you want to address that? I can also, but go ahead. I think you're referring to where if a person had a outstanding balance and they wanted to re-enroll, that we didn't keep them re-enrolling. We just add that into the new figures. Does that ring a bell?
There wasn't a monetary allocation passed toward that, but what many of every one of our colleges have is with the foundation work that we have, they have funds like that.
Okay.
Because we never want to kick a student out or not let them re-enroll because they owe us $10
Sure.
for a parking fine, or they owe us. So you look at the amount that we charge for any type of fine, and there was a discussion last year with regard to that. So that may be what you're thinking about.
Yes, ma'am.
But our colleges have raised the money from private sources that we use for what we call emergency funds. And the student just appeals to the college, and at every one of our colleges, we have ways to support and help those students where we have raised the money from private donations.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Ritchie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here today and for the presentation. As I was sitting here looking at this, and the gentleman from West Tennessee had mentioned it, the 26% graduation rate was what stood out to me, and I started taking notes. So as I went through the proposed strategic initiatives, there's $67.5 million worth of asks that's going to be coming. One of the things for me to be able to get on board with that is I would like to see a deep dive on what's being done to address that 26%, whether it's 26 on the front side or the 48 for the additional individuals. I'm here to be a steward of the taxpayers' dollars, and as they're going out, only getting 25% success on the dollars going in there is alarming to me. So that's something that if you want to follow back up with my office, we can sit down and see what's happening or what's taking place to be able to increase that graduation rate. That's something that is the most alarming thing that I've heard today.
Yeah, and those new initiatives that we're talking about, that's what we're hoping it's going to do is increase those rates. But we would absolutely love to follow up with you and give you more information on that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Fritz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for your time, what you're doing for Tennessee. I do appreciate it. Under the reimagined experience, are there some additional opportunities for either first-time students or perhaps even adult learners that are coming back to school that are battling economic challenges or childcare or whatever to help them be successful? Are there new initiatives under the reimagined experience to help with those things?
Again, we're looking at the opportunities to help them financially with ways that we can. The child care issue continues to be a bit of a challenge for us. We work with each one of our communities, but every community has that handled a little bit differently. We have 2 colleges right now that do have child care centers on site, but their ability is very small. Their capacity is very small for the number of students that they're able to handle. So it's not the overall answer. We know that when we did the survey of why students are not coming to college last year, because as I think many of you are aware, we did have a downturn in enrollment in our community colleges. While we had an uptick in technical college, our community colleges were down last year 10% in enrollment. When we surveyed to the best of our ability, tried to find out why childcare was one of the issues that we know people were not coming. There's a population out there that we really still don't even know why they're not coming back to college, that they're not working and they're not in school. And we're having discussions with labor and ECD to try and talk about how do we figure out who those people are and how do we get them back in college. The really good news is that we just had our 14-day report for our community colleges, and we are up 1.3% in enrollment. So we're making some headway, but that's still not back to the 10 that we lost.
Follow up.
Yes, ma'am. Just one quick follow-up. Virtual and distance learning, does your data suggest that that's an opportunity for some of the folks that may not like some of those initial classes?
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Chairman.
That's what we learned from COVID. There are some people that really, really do well in virtual learning, and there are some people that really should never take a virtual learning class. And we've learned how to help people see who should and who shouldn't. A lot of our faculty are doing what I call that flipped model of teaching, where they're doing their theory and lecturing online, but then the hands-on they do when they've got the students in the classroom. So it's a hybrid model. That saves students. They don't have to come to the campus as often. They can do the lecture part. They can watch the part in the videos that they need to, and then they can ask the questions when they've got the person there with them. But we know that it takes all of it in order to help that student be really successful. And y'all remember that warranty claim that you saw there. I know that if I'm not doing hands-on, I will get warranty claims because you cannot learn to weld a bead online very well.
Absolutely. Put me in the category of those who don't do well virtually. Chairman Reagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me say thank you for being here and thank you for what you do for our state in terms of education. Workforce readiness is indeed a key for us to be able to continue to draw businesses to our state and, in fact, encourage economic growth. Now, pats on the back are over. Tough questions. The issue that has been mentioned a number of times in several committees that I've been in for this particular topic. In my district in particular, we have some very good high-tech companies that are looking for workforce. And I have this direct quote from one of the executives in one of these companies. They might advertise that they need 30 workers, and 45 people will show up. And for the first hour, they talk to them about what's going on and what's needed. And then we're going to take a break. You can go to the bathroom. And oh, by the way, you have to pee in a cup. And when they reconvene, 10 people are there. So what do you see as a solution to that problem? And well, I guess the first question is, are you experiencing it? And what do you see as a solution if you are?
I do wish I had a solution, but yes, we are seeing the problem as well. And one of the things that we do, particularly in those career fields that are going to require that kind of testing, because many of them do CDL. I mean, there are testing requirements of that nature. We start from day one telling students, this is what's expected. This is what's going to be required of you. And when they stay in the class, they learn it. But for some of ours that leave, some of that percentage, that 50% that doesn't stay, they leave because they know they can't meet the expectations of the workforce. I don't have a good answer for that. I wished I did, but that is part of the reason why we lose them as well. I think that's also part of the reason of that population I'm talking about that we can't find, that is out there unreported to us. But we are working, as I said, with labor and trying to do the best we can to target some of those groups. But some of them are never going to make good employees unless they get that part of their life straightened out, and we don't have good answers for that.
Thank you, Chairman. Let's go to Representative Jones.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Chancellor. I was really encouraged to hear the investment in student support network with mental health. I think this is a crisis that we need to address. As someone who worked with college students and who was a graduate college student last year, we're having a crisis of mental health. Suicide is the #1 cause of death for people 18 to 24, and we know that our students are struggling. So really supportive of that. My question was around the support. I represent a very diverse district, and so a large part of my district are Spanish speaking, Arabic speaking, and so my question is the support for students who, English is a second language, or people, prospective students who English is a second language. What type of support does the TBR system have in place for them?
Great question. We do have a good number of, well, all of our colleges have English as a second language to help those students that come to us that is not their first language. Some of our colleges are doing particularly well in this arena because they have a larger population of people than others. Walters State and Chattanooga State are two that I would point out to you that probably have some of the premier programs in the country on what they're doing to help those populations of individuals that live in their area. I don't have details on a lot of those, but would love to sit down and be able to share those with you and what they're doing. But we've been really pleased with the outcomes of the programs they put in place.
Thank you very much. And then we have Representative Bolso. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chancellor Tidings, thank you once again for the thorough and comprehensive presentation. It was excellent and very helpful. My question is going to take us beyond the data that you've been able to present to us and follow up on one of Chairman Reagan's points regarding workforce readiness across the entire state. Do you have any data or access to data that would tell us how many students are enrolled in technical schools that are not part of the TBR system and what experience those schools are having with graduation rates and being able to prepare students in the technical fields?
Well, the only schools that are not in our system are our proprietary schools, and I don't have their data. We do not have access to their data, so I wouldn't even want to comment on what their graduation rate is.
May I follow up, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
sir.
Just being in the field, you've presented here that we've got about 2,124 new students in the TBR system. Do you have a sense as to how many students are in technical programs outside of the TBR system in the state?
I do not know. I know that THEC actually has to approve any proprietary school that comes into the state, so they would have better access to those numbers than I would.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, anyone else have a question of our? Yes, sir. You recognize.
I'm interested in this new program that they're doing where they're allowing students in high school to start their dual enrollment as a freshman instead of a junior. I see we're able to put out qualified students when they graduate. Do we have any kind of estimates on how many students will be participating in that initially?
I don't have it with me today. We can get that for you. We know how many ninth graders we have that are looking at those programs, but I don't have that figure with me today.
Okay.
The majority of our dual enrollment students are 11th and 12th graders. We do have some that reach down into the ninth grade, but the majority of them are juniors and seniors because they have more time in their schedule to do the courses. And we have a very large number, which is, I'm not going to remember off the top of my head, that graduated last year with their high school diploma and a technical certificate or degree at the same time. We have several colleges that have a technical high school actually on their campus. So the students are doing both at the same time, completing high school study and getting all of their college credit at the same time.
You may follow. By the way, for our live stream, that was Representative Butler. I didn't recognize you, but.
Thank you, Chairman. One of my daughters actually graduated high school with her CNA license through the dual enrollment program at TCAT. So I think it's an excellent program, and her goal is to be a nurse. And so she's continuing to pursue that now. But I think being able to start as a freshman a lot of these folks will be able to graduate not only with a high school diploma, but with some type of certification.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Members, anyone else have a question of Chancellor or TBR system? Thank you all so much for coming and presenting on our first committee. And I really do like the reimagine idea. I think that's going to have positive gains. And members, one reason I wanted them to come, we'll have more guests. The continuum of education from early childhood all the way through higher education, it all affects each other. So what we do in K1, 2, and 3 affects trade schools, community colleges, and 4 years. So let's keep all that in mind as we make decisions on that. Members, our committee is normally scheduled between 1:30 and 3 on Wednesdays. I was just talking to Colleen. When we get into heavier things, we do have a 2-hour window. I don't think there's anyone else that meets in another committee. So just be prepared. If we get into some stuff that we do have a 2-hour window that we can stay in here. So just kind of keep that in mind also. If you have any questions, bill filing deadline hinted yesterday, and the bills will start to hit, and we'll start organizing all that. Does any member have any question or comment or announcement at this time? We have a motion to adjourn, so adjourn.